Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us here in the Million Mom Movement. Today's call is all about menopause magic and really owning your next chapter in life. Because as we age, we realize that life comes in chapters. We have, when we're young, and then as we come into adolescence, into womanhood, maybe some of us become mothers, grandmothers, and it's the next phase of life where we go through menopause, perimenopause, getting our bodies ready for that transition in life. And it's a beautiful part of life. And we want to just remind everybody that it is just the next phase. Menopause isn't an ending, it's a powerful new beginning. So, this is really a session where we want to embrace our body's natural transition with grace, vitality, and confidence. And we really want to help share some simple ways to balance our hormones, boost our energy, and rediscover our inner magic. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And before we go ahead and jump into this topic, we would love to have um, somebody read the pledge. So go ahead. I'm going to open up the pledge, and Katrina, I'm going to go ahead and have you read the pledge for us. Let me unmute you. Did my screen share?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. I pledge to defend the health of myself and my family. I pledge to choose organic foods that are minimally processed and free of man made ingredients. I pledge to read labels and educate myself on all aspects of clean living. I understand that my actions today will positively impact the health and environment of future generations. I am committed to sharing this movement of many. I am the Million Mom Movement.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And would you like to share a little bit about what this movement means to you?
Well, I was introduced to Purium a little less than a year ago. I'm coming up on my year anniversary in January, and uh, getting linked to this community has been really so wonderful. The support and the education and the just the upliftment and um, everybody shares. I always learn something when I attend these calls, and I have made my way through menopause. I'm on the other side of that, and had I had these products when I was experiencing it, it was very, very actually quite mild, I'm grateful to say. But the couple of hot flashes that I had, I feel like had this been a part of my life at that point, I may very well have sailed through without any of those kinds of experiences. And I'm just grateful to be have incorporated these uh, the Purium foods into my life, and to share with other people. So it's a wonderful place to be.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of our community and reading our pledge with us today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and hop right in. I am so honored to be a part of the Million Mom Movement Council. My name is Naeva Flory, and I'm also joined by Dominique Jeffries, who has been on the council for a little over a year now. And it has been such a pleasure to work with her and so many other women that have come and represented on this council. And each and every one of you represents the Million Mom Movement Council in your own community of who you are and how you represent yourself and how you go out there and share these amazing superfoods with the people in your community that you care about. So, thank you all for being a part of the Million Mom Movement. We appreciate you being a part of this incredible community. And I'm really honored today because this is such an incredible topic around women's health and this next phase of life. So, before we begin, I just want to invite you to take a deep breath and just really settle into this moment together that we have. Open your heart to this conversation, and we are going to dive right in because this is really a conversation that every woman deserves. It's a conversation about empowerment, clarity, and honoring our bodies. So, talking about menopause. Menopause is really it's not an ending, it's a beginning. It's a new beginning of this next phase of life. And it's a natural transition into a deeper intuition, renewed identity, and maybe even a more grounded sense of self. Maybe we know more about ourselves, maybe we know what we do want and don't want in our lives, maybe we've accomplished some things and we have some wisdom, some knowledge, that we've acquired along the way. And so because this journey we call menopause is not just physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's generational, and it's really a personal experience. Each and every one of us will have a different experience through this phase of life. So, we're here to offer some tools and some support around how hopefully we can help this transition be a really beautiful transition. And so, let's begin with some of the basics. Understanding menopause, right? Menopause is a natural phase of life. It's not a medical failure. It's our body transitioning out of the reproductive cycle and into the new hormonal rhythm. So there's a lot of changes that comes with this. What is menopause actually? What's happening in our body? Well, it marks a time when our ovaries naturally slow down estrogen and progesterone production. So there's some hormonal changes happening. It is officially reached after 12 consecutive months without menstrual cycles. So that's when you're actually in menopause, is when you've actually completed a whole year without your cycle. And despite what society has made women believe, this process is not your body breaking down, it's your body recalibrating. It is reorganizing, redistributing energy, and shifting into new patterns that support the next chapter in your life. So, this is the science, but also the soul of menopause. So, let's talk a little bit about estrogen. Before it declines, estrogen fluctuates, so sometimes wildly, and this is why symptoms feel unpredictable. So, estrogen affects our temperature and regulation. It can affect our mood, our energy, our weight, our hair, skin, our bone density. So many different things come from our estrogen. And so, when we have those ups and downs, it can be an imbalance, and it directly is reflected in these hormonal shifts that we might experience. The other hormone is progesterone. Progesterone actually decreases first, often years before menopause. So think perimenopause. This is why many women notice symptoms long before their period actually stops. So some of the symptoms of low progesterone is it can affect your sleep, your anxiety. You could be more irritable. You might have more brain fog. So these are all signs that your progesterone is lowering. And it's progesterone is a calming hormone, so when it drops, everything feels a little bit more heightened. So just be aware of that, so that way, if you're feeling moody or different things, you might be able to have a power shake or something to help you to stay balanced throughout the day. Maybe the dark berry shake, that since that helps with mood. The next one is cortisol. This is a stress hormone. So as estrogen drops, cortisol becomes more sensitive and stress hits harder. So it can make little things feel like a really big deal. So what might have just been something really simple in the past might actually feel like a big deal in that moment if you're dealing with extra stress from cortisol levels being low. So it can also contribute to having hot flashes, to increased belly fat, sleep disturbances, and also emotional mood swings. So, all of these have to do with your cortisol levels in your body. And then moving into the thyroid and how that supports us. The thyroid doesn't usually fail, but it may feel off during this transition. So, this can cause changes in metabolism, mood changes. Maybe you might feel more tired or fatigued throughout the day. And your hormones are all interconnected. So, when one shifts, all the others respond. So, it can feel like a lot at times, especially when it's something unexpected or you don't know what's happening, which is why we're here today to share what to expect and how we can best support our bodies. So now let's talk a little bit more about the symptoms and more importantly, why they happen. Hot flashes and night sweats. So estrogen influences the brain's internal thermostat. When estrogen drops, the thermostat becomes overly sensitive. The body reacts by suddenly releasing heat, flushing, sweating, discomfort, right? So, those are all part of the symptoms that our hormones create during this time. And then estrogen supports serotonin and dopamine, your happiness and calm chemicals. So, when estrogen fluctuates, emotional sensitivity is completely normal. Estrogen also influences fat distribution. So, lower levels shift shortage towards the abdomen. So, add in the slower metabolism, the higher cortisol. This may result in changes and even in your habits. You know, even your habits may not have changed, but your body may be changing. So, progesterone is naturally calming. As it declines, sleep becomes lighter, more restless, and less restorative. So, none of this is random. None of it is all in your head. Your body is responding exactly as it was designed to. So, this is the one of the most important part of today's presentation is your body is not malfunctioning. Your body is adapting to the next phase of life. So, this hormonal transition serves a purpose in nature. Once your body has completed its reproductive years, energy shifts towards wisdom, creativity, intuition, emotional intelligence, personal evolution. And this phase of life is deeply powerful. And here's why we must honor ourselves. There's no one size fits all when it comes to hormones and hormonal changes and menopause. Some women barely feel any symptoms. Some experience emotional and physical waves. Some have long perimenopause journey, while others move through it really quickly. So each body has its own rhythm, time, and story. So shaped by genetics, by stress, diet, lifestyle, traumatic experiences, the community of support that we have, and our environment. So all of those factors are valid. Estrogen can fluctuate. So key hormonal changes during this time is that estrogen can fluctuate wildly before eventually declining. So that can cause a lot of emotional irregularity. Um, Other influences are temperature regulation, mood, energy, weight, hair, skin, and bone strength. Um, so we shared a little bit about that earlier. Um, but these are all signs that your body is actually doing what it's supposed to, in effect, because your body's hormones are changing. And so are your experiences, what you're experiencing in your daily life. And so your body, let's see. Um, so we're going to talk a little bit more about the emotional and spiritual side of this transition as well. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to Dominique to share a little bit more about that with you.
Yeah, thanks, Naiva. We wanted to shift to more of the spiritual, emotional part of what's happening in our bodies as women during this transition, because here at Purium, we are not just about, how we can support you physically with nutrition, but also how we can support you emotionally and financially. Drop a 2 in the chat if you maybe grew up with the idea that menopause from maybe, your mother, your grandmother, some of the women in your life, that maybe menopause was like this negative experience, right? Maybe you heard them complain about the hot flashes and just like this, not looking forward to this experience, right? I see a lot of twos. That's exactly what my experience was. Even just, being a woman and having my period, that was something that was looked at as like disgusting. And, I didn't really look forward to that time every month. Obviously, as I've gotten older and I've related, what's happening to such a beautiful blessing, I think that we here at Purium and just, within this community, the Million Mom movement, we want to create a new narrative around that. And we want to really be able to support you emotionally through this transition. So I know a lot of people put twos in the chat. Now put a three in the chat if you've been through a major transition this year. I could put a ton of threes in the chat. I personally moved from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I was there. I was in Miami for about 7 years and moved to Arizona this year. And I just want you to think about whether you're going through menopause or not, just think about this transition that's happened in your life this year, right? And how emotionally that was, maybe an adjustment. Maybe it was something you weren't as happy about. If some transitions aren't as exciting, but to really look at the overall theme of what happens during a transition. A lot of times there's resistance. There's confusion. You don't really know what's happening. Maybe I was looking forward to this move. I was really excited to live in the desert, but I recognized once I got here that my body had to adjust. My nervous system had to adjust to this new life, right? So I like to think about menopause as I've studied it and just heard from a lot of the women in this community as this energetic space of like the season of our lives as like our inner winter, right? It's the month of December. We're in the winter season now. And when you think about winter, it's really this energy of slowing down, of turning inward, right? Preserving your energy. We aren't as out and about as much, out in nature, maybe because it's, a little bit cooler. The weather changes and it's important. Everything in nature changes. And I think that when we look at menopause or even just life transitions, to really honor the season that we're in. And this, season when it comes to winter or menopause is really less about being so productive and it's more about being present and really allowing yourself to rest, right? Nature doesn't die in the winter time. It's just actually preparing for this next bloom. And I mean, I can't speak from experience when it comes to menopause. We do have a guest that's going to share shortly, which I can't wait to hear, her story and a lot of the other stories and the women that are here. But I can only imagine that during this transition, it's like, what's happening and what does this next season of my life look like? Because it's new to me. Or maybe, like you said, a lot of people drop twos in the chat where their experience of what menopause looked like for women in their lineage was something that was just this terrible experience. So we think about it from, more on an emotional standpoint. Sometimes during this season, even you may be thinking about the winter season that we're in now, your hormones are changing and you're really in a position when you're present to maybe even face emotional layers that you might have tucked away, right? That might have been easy to not acknowledge because you were running through the motions with your daily life. And then, here comes the winter season or menopause where you're kind of forced to reflect and think about those emotional layers that you weren't able to really acknowledge. A lot of old patterns, roles, identities that your body can no longer hold in this new season that you're moving into, right? They don't even really feel aligned anymore. I could even say that from my personal experience, just moving from moving to a different state, that I recognize my old identity has had to shift. And sometimes, that can be really uncomfortable. Even thinking about mood changes, right? I know Naeva mentioned our, hormones start to shift during this season and you can really look at them, or we've been kind of conditioned as women to look at them as weaknesses, but it's not. It's actually our strength. It's actually our deep connection to nature and really being able to hold the mirror up to us and face those inner truths that we may have, kind of put to the side. So just recognizing that this is a season where you may feel more sensitive, more intuitive, more reflective, and it's an opportunity to really lean into it and not run away from it, right? It's not like instability is what this kind of narrative has been around menopause, but it's actually just like this emotional recalibration. Also thinking about the wisdom that you get in the winter. When I hear about women and going through menopause who, have allowed themselves to really be present, it's just such this like spiritual transformation that happens and you cultivate this inner wisdom that we need as, women who are younger, who maybe aren't going through menopause, that we need your wisdom. We need you to lean into this season so that we can learn from your experiences. So kind of almost looking at it as, this transition into empowerment that you can use to support the women in your community, right? So allowing you to release maybe outdated stories, responsibilities that aren't yours anymore. I remember watching my mom and my grandmother just literally put the family on their back and doing everything for everyone. And I think that menopause, when these hormones start to shift, you can't always do and be everything for everyone anymore, right? You really have to allow yourself to lean into that inner wisdom, to let go of those relationships or those roles that were draining your spirit for so long that now it's a season for you to really pour back into yourself. And it happens because you don't really have a choice anymore. It's like your body is telling you, hey, this isn't going to happen anymore, right? We have to shift. We have to transition. We have to lean into nature. So yeah, really the season of letting go, but knowing that it's not a weakness, right? But there's more so power in this presence of, being able to let go. And then just, yeah, thinking about this identity shift that's happening. I'm excited. I know very soon Naiva is going to introduce our guest, but to just consider like this identity shift that's happening. Like, who are you now? What is your role now that you are in this new season of your life? What are you letting go of, right? But also, who are you becoming? And I think that if you allow yourself this season to just reflect and not try to rush through it like we've been, conditioned to do, or not try to just force it, but to really just ask yourself those questions and to allow those answers to be, revealed to you. So, Naive, if you'd like to introduce our guest, I'd love to hear her story, through menopause and how this community has, really supported her physically and emotionally through this journey.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all that great information. And we have an incredible guest on here today. She has been with Purium for over 11 years now, I think coming up on 12 years possibly. And PE, you'll have to introduce yourself because I was trying to figure out what your current rank is. I didn't want to misguide anybody with where you're at, but I know that you've had incredible success here with Purium. You've been using it for a long time. And I'm really excited to hear a little bit more about your story and how Purium has supported you through this phase of life.
For sure. Am I unmuted?
You
You
are.
okay. Oops. Okay. Sorry, I lost you for a minute. So thank you so much, you guys. Hello, everyone. My name is P.E. Lenny. I'm over here in North Shore of Oahu in Hawaii. And it's good to be here and talk with you. I do appreciate what is menopause scientifically and speaking into the emotional and spiritual aspect of it, Naeva and Dominique. So I appreciate what you guys brought to us all so far. I think my story is about how having the right nutrition really allows healthy hormonal balance, if you will, and then having that passion work in this very important transition of our life. The Purium economy, I call it the passion work, the Purium economy that feeds our soul during this important transition as well, that our bodies are going through when we are balanced hormonally and we're balanced in life. I think that's where my story is, because it's a beautiful season in life that we as women come into with all this experience in life. And, we come into this experience in life, but we can't necessarily give it out, because if we're going through all this symptoms, trying to deal with that, not being the person we are, getting irritable, not having the right sleep, having the hot flashes, and I'll tell you my story in a minute, all of that doesn't allow us to bring in what I call a crystallized intelligence. It's like when we come into this space in our lives, we are truly bringing so much experience that we need to be able to give that to people, but we can't give it if we're going through all of this trauma physically. So I think and I'm getting choked up because I didn't have to experience it for a long time. I found Purium when I was 56. I'm 68 today. So yes, almost 12 years. And I was a director of development of a nonprofit. So I thought that was feeding my soul. I was giving back to the community. And I was sitting in this really this sponsor meeting. So I was dealing dealing with all the board and all the sponsors of these big organizations that was feeding into this very large national nonprofit. Very cold, air-conditioned room. I hadn't gone through menopause that I thought. I hadn't experienced anything yet. I'm sitting in this very cold room across of this very powerful man that was going to give me a lot of money for the organization. And I literally start raining from my forehead, like raining. And he sat there and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I go, "Can you excuse me for a minute?" I ran to the bathroom. I dried myself off, came back. And I don't know if this is a God thing, but literally about a week or 2 weeks later, my really good friend introduced me to Purium. So I had experienced a very short portion of what could have been a very long-term, humiliating, demoralizing part of my life that I wouldn't have been able to bring this crystallized intelligence to the world because I was battling internally. So it just I was getting choked up earlier because I realized after hearing your guys' scientific reasons of why the body goes through that, I was seeing how what could have happened to me for those very important years in my life. And I noticed someone had said, "I wish I found this 7 years ago." So I hear you. I had one moment of humiliation and I was able to not have to experience that anymore so that I can really bring my experiences in life forward to the world. And so that truly is the story told, because once I found Purium, so prior, not only was that my first episode of having hot flashes, not being able to be the real person that at that time in my life, to honor all those experiences, to be able to share that without feeling any kind of self-doubt, or, you brought in this.
The good news, we are going to do it next week. There's two.
Okay, you brought in the spiritual aspect of it. You brought in the emotional aspect. That all comes together when we're humiliated by all these changes our body's going through and trying to be in society. And I can see the way I would have handled it was like I did. "Can you give me a moment?" and run. I would have probably been that person for a decade, not going anywhere because I was too afraid. If I was irritable, if I had hot flashes, I would have been that person to hide. And so it's just one of those things where it's a God thing. Like I said, he brought it into my life right when I needed it, enough time to experience what could have been so that I can share that experience, the crystallized intelligence, right? I didn't go through it too much, but I was able to really, to this point today at 68, I'm really able to share a lot more with women who I like to try to catch women just prior to that experience, because it is and you can drop, if you've gone through this and you can relate to the almost self-hatred. It's almost like you just really hurt yourself. You don't have much self-love during that time because you just can't face the world like you used to face the world. So finding Purium, the right nutrition that allowed my body to have a balanced healthy hormones during that time, where you're saying it's fluctuating. No, the right nutrition allows the body to balance the hormones. So I call it nourish, cleanse, and repair. So when we have that whole ULT and we're nourishing, we're cleansing our body, we're repairing our body's able to kind of regenerate, it regenerates. So it's not so much, it's actually, I've read somewhere too, Naiva, that menopause is actually not normal. It's not normal if you have a diet that doesn't have all this processed fast food in it. So no, it's not. Everything you mentioned was yes for people who are eating high processed foods. But if you look at the cultures that don't eat those kind of high processed foods, no, it's not normal. So that's all I did. I went on the ULT. I was committed to the 90-day. Back then it was called the 10-day, but I did multiple 10 days in a row. So I made my own ultimate lifestyle transformation because once I experienced it, I didn't want to get off of it. I felt good. I felt myself. I felt like, oh, I can conquer the world. I felt like my 30s and 40s and let's go. I don't have to go through that stuff. Right. So the ULT. So if we want to help people not have to go through that stuff, or if you're in it now, if you're watching the replay and you're in it now and you're trying to get help out of it, commit to yourself, commit to the ULT. You don't have to love yourself just yet, but you can love the tracker, right? You can love the tracker. You can love having Purium twice a day, sometimes even 3 if you need it. You can love the nutrition, love your body enough to put the nutrition in so your body then can recalibrate and regenerate itself. The body is a miracle and God created that way. So we came into this very toxic environment. We've never lived in such a toxic environment before. And so all we're doing is not living in a bubble either, but at least allowing our body to have the right nutrition to handle the toxicity coming at us, right? Because we're going to get it in the air, we're going to get it in the water, we're going to get it in that food that we eat at the restaurant. We're not going to sit in a bubble. We're going to go eat food at a restaurant. It's going to have seed oils and anything else. Most restaurants aren't organic, so it's got a lot of other stuff in it. And so it really is about honoring our body at this beautiful transition, this beautiful time in our lives where we get to give back to the world this crystallized intelligence, this long life experience with love and aloha and just really giving and versus internalizing because of the symptoms Naiva was talking about, right? We get to now really share who we are at this time because of the right nutrition. So it's no rocket science. It's just really the ULT is what really saved me, the ULT, plus a couple of other things I threw in there, because I always had heart palpitations, so heartache. I mean, I went from riddled with arthritis that I would live with it the rest of my life, from that one moment of hot flash to vertigo 3 or 4 times a year, losing money from my job because I couldn't show up and I had to work a whole week without pay because I had to use all my vacation and sick pay. So it was really, life was getting really, really dark and tight. Right. And it just opened that all up within the first 30 days and never had another hot flash, never had wet sweats or whatever in bed, never did any of that stuff. And just really felt like I can conquer the world at this time in my life where I had so much to offer. So it really is a very important topic for us to share with people. And I do appreciate being asked to come and share. And I do, like I said before, the Purium economy is part of that life-changing role that happened for me, because instead of going through rush hour traffic, sitting at a job where nobody really cares about you, and then rush hour traffic and going home and being so tired that I didn't have much to offer people. Once I found Purium and the Purium economy, now I can really live the life I'm supposed to live. I left a condo. I'm now on an acre. I'm building my farmstead. I'm 68. I had a 30-year-old come help me today. She goes, "Auntie, can I ask you how old you are?" And it's like, I'm sorry to ask, but like, I thought you were much older, but you look much younger. And I'm like, no, I'm 68. She goes, "I can't believe you're 68. And I'm like picking up rocks. She's picking up rocks. I'm picking up logs. I'm digging, grass out and pulling weeds and coming up. And I mean, I really don't feel like I'm 68. I definitely I feel like I'm 30 again. So this kind of stuff, we as women have so much to offer the world at this time in our lives when we have so much more experience that we can share with others. You guys, I see young people on here. I don't see everybody else. I see a Connie, a man. Congrats, Chris. Thanks for joining us. You probably have a mama you want to share this with. But we really have to honor our, we call it here in Hawaii, kupuna, our elders. And this is the time that we get to do it. Our elders can live a healthy life. I want to give one more quick story before we go. Is when I first started, everyone, Dave was not the person he is today. He's like super passionate with people. He loves us. But when I first started, he was had barnacles. He was rough around the edges, and everyone was scared of him. But my dad was that way, so I couldn't wait to meet him. And someone had to pick him up at the airport. I'm like, I will. And I remember going to him, and this I'm going to get to a really powerful story here, and I hope you guys can really hear this one. Is when I picked him up, I was just super grateful, super thankful. Oh my God, Dave, you changed my life. I thought I was going to die in 4 years. And now I'm just living a life that I just never thought would ever happen. And I'm like almost crying and opening up my heart to him. I'm super vulnerable. And he's sitting in the passenger seat and I'm driving, just super sharing the story. And he looks at me, he goes, man, you guys just don't get it. And remember the barnacles, rough around the edges, right? But that's how my dad was. So no problem. It didn't hurt me. And I just kind of looked at him and go, well, wait, what then? What am I missing? And he said, it's not about how well you feel now. It's how well you feel your last 10 years of your life. Imagine that. Imagine this is this man who's so powerful. And all he's wanting to do is everyone to live your life all the way beautifully, all the way until God decides to take us home. Not stuck in a hospital bed, not, you know what I mean? Oh man, I think that's what locked me into helping more people. It's not how we feel today. It's how you feel your last 10 years of your life. That's Dave. That's our founder, you guys. So it's like, I was in business for 3 months so far. I was really 3 months old. And so I do believe that's what locked me in, and that helped me with the passion work that I needed to move forward and helping other people. So thank you for allowing me to come and share this very important time in our lives. And I hope we all go and share this with other mamas and grannies and kupunas, because no one needs to suffer, especially towards the end.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I really appreciate that. And I love what you shared just there at the end too, with the way that Dave thinks that he really wants us to have the best quality of our life, our entire life, but especially towards the end, because we all know and have seen, I don't know if you all have seen, but I used to be a caregiver, so I worked in an old folks home, and I have personally seen how people are cared for in their last years of life, and it is extremely sad to see how little they get visited and how poor quality of food they're fed. And I could go down a whole rabbit hole about that, but we'll stay on subject today. And I just really appreciate some of your own golden nuggets of like how your first experience of having a hot flash and how you didn't have to necessarily continue on that trajectory because somebody introduced you to this lifestyle and you're able to transition out of that more processed food, fast-paced lifestyle into this different lifestyle with more holistic foods and more plant-based. And now you've been able to buy an acre and moved out of a condo, and like your life has transitioned. You've really created a beautiful dream for yourself. And I must say, it's been beautiful to watch over the years. And I think that's all what we're working towards, right? We all want whatever that dream life looks like. And without health, what do we really have? Right? We have to have our health, or otherwise our quality of life is poor. And look at P. She's out there weeding her garden and having 30-year-olds come and, barely keep up with her. And so I love you so much, P. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I appreciate you. And yeah, really beautiful share. And, so much encouragement for those of us that are still on that journey, entering this next phase of life with our hormones. And I also really appreciate what you brought to the normalcy of what menopause is in that before we were introduced to all these processed foods and seed oils and fried foods and all of these more toxic foods that we have in our day-to-day life, that the symptoms of menopause weren't as severe, or that it wasn't even really a thing because we didn't have as much inflammation in our body. We didn't have these drastic hormonal changes because we had a more balanced nutritional platform with just our day-to-day life. We probably also had a lot less stress when we used to, grow our food and harvest it and not necessarily have to do all the other stressors of life. And so I love that you brought that to the table too, so that we can really go back to that way of life of really supporting our body, supporting our hormones, and being able to hopefully avoid the hot flashes and the downsides of what we call menopause. So thank you so much. So, as we've been sharing, really nourishing your body with the most supportive foods is really important because the foods that support our hormone production and detoxification are the ones that are really gonna support us, like PE shared, it's about what repeat what you had said. It was replenish, it was detox and replenish. What was it?
Nourish
Nourish.
and,
Nourish,
and repair.
nourish, cleanse, and repair. So I really like that because that really is along the lines of what we're doing with a 90-day ultimate lifestyle transformation. We're really nourishing the body, adding in these extra nourishing foods. I often tell people, don't quit what you're already used to. Just add this in, see how it makes you feel, and you'll see some of those other old habits will fall to the wayside because they will no longer appeal to you as much. Your taste buds change, your smell changes, so many things change, right? And even the way that you feel in your body after you nourish yourself changes. And so sometimes when you eat some of those, foods that you used to be your comfort foods might actually feel different in your body. And so that right there is enough for you to make the decision to make some changes. So what we need to eat more of is healthy fats, cruciferous vegetables, lots of minerals, lots of plants and phytoestrogens, so many different vitamins and minerals comes from the plants that we put into our body. And then some of the things that we might want to reduce might be things like sugar, alcohol, processed foods, and then things that are endocrine disruptors. So these are things that are like fragrances, which is everywhere. It's in our Glade plugins, in the laundry detergents, in the dryer sheets, and all the things that are scented, right? Those are all endocrine disruptors. And so it's really important that we stay away from those as much as possible because those all contribute to these symptoms that we've been talking about today of disrupting your hormones and then causing these side effects, which are the hot flashes and the mood swings and not sleeping good, right? All those things. So, some of the things that can really support you during this time is really leaning on a plant-based diet, making sure that you're getting all your omegas, making sure you're getting your minerals like your magnesium and things like that, which is in our ionic elements. So definitely suggest taking the ionic elements, which the ionic elements in combination with the apothecary is a really great mix before bed because it really helps you get that deep restful sleep at night. It helps your body, all your muscles go into a restful sleep. You're getting all your minerals, you're getting that natural melatonin, you're reducing inflammation in your body, you're releasing toxins and free radicals while you sleep. So those two in combination can really help with the sleep and your sleep cycle if that's something that's affecting you. And then, of course, getting proper sleep can also help support you and your stress levels. We all know that we live a stressful life. It's the holidays. There's all kinds of things coming up in the next few weeks that could be stressful and in everyday life as well. We all have our own stressors. And so the more we can minimize those by getting enough rest and feeding our body the proper things, and also having some really healthy, nutritious options on hand can really be helpful at all times throughout life. And then some of the superfoods that we really recommend during this time is like PE shared about the ultimate lifestyle transformation. It really is the very best way to get started because it's setting you up with all the nutrients you need in a day. You're getting your protein from your super aminos, you're getting your fruits from your apothecary, getting that antioxidant fruit component. You're getting your greens from the power shake. You're getting all of the greens that you need that help detoxify your body, replenish your body, give you that natural energy that your body is craving, feeding your cells and feeding you on a cellular level. And then the biomedic that helps to detox glyphosate and other toxins from your body and also help repair your gut, which we know so much of our mood starts in the gut, right? So we want to be in a good mood. The first thing is to make sure our gut's in order. And then, you can add other things onto that initial protocol. If you want to do a parasite cleanse, it does come with some parasite cleansing herbs that can really help, especially if you're looking to transition from a more processed food diet into, a more plant-based diet and you're wanting to detox some parasites and other toxins in your body. If you're looking to lose some extra weight a little faster, then, doing a parasite cleanse can definitely help fast forward and give your body a jump start with your metabolism so you can get that ball rolling a little bit faster. But you can always add in some additional things to that. And for hormonal support, some of the things that I would recommend would be Women's Defense, which is an amazing blend of herbs that can help us with balancing our hormones throughout our whole life as women. So Women's Defense is not just for, we have hormones our whole life. So you can take Women's Defense from the time you're a teenager until, you're at the end of your life. The other one that is a newer product is Menopause, which despite the name, it does have menopause in the name, but it is for hormonal balance for all stages of life as well. So again, I would give it to anybody from a teenage daughter, teenage girl to a, older woman that is, because we always are dealing with hormones throughout life. So Menopause is a great tincture. I love it. I share it with people all the time. It's a really easy thing to share when I am around other women that are having a hot flash or dealing with different symptoms. It's something that I can keep in my purse with me and take it everywhere. And so it's really easy to give somebody a little dropper from a tincture, put it in some water, and have them just have an experience right there on the spot. And just to like help them with balancing their hormones like immediately with some really great herbs. And then Super Life Formula is also another really great hormone balancer. And this one is more geared towards balancing your testosterone. But as women, we have to balance our estrogen and our testosterone so that we have our balanced hormones, right? Not too much of one or the other, but just enough of both. So Super Life Formula helps us in that area of making sure that our testosterone is also on point, which helps us in so many different ways. And then if you are somebody that's maybe dealing with any like brain fog or maybe like some forgetfulness, things like that, as we mentioned earlier in the call, that happens to some of us during this time of life, you could add in Revividol because Revividol is really great for your brain synapses and will really help you to, retain your memory and think fast, which sometimes we lose over time, right? So it'll keep you snappy and young. And then, of course, we have the dark berry protein, which also helps with memory, cognitive function, and collagen production, which we haven't talked a lot about on this call today. But as we're going through menopause and getting older, our collagen production reduces significantly. And so making sure that we're taking something that's going to help us create collagen naturally is really important. And so that is the dark berry protein. And then you can always add in the hair, skin, and nails if you are losing some of your hair, if you feel like your skin, hair, skin, and nails is needing a little bit of support. And it also helps with collagen production as well. Those are some of the things that can really be supportive during this time. And it really is about, supporting your nervous system and supporting your hormones and reminding your body that it's safe, right? Making sure that you're getting enough movement in your day and moving your body, whether that's going for a walk or a swim or going to the gym. There's all these different ways, but really create a beautiful routine that brings you joy and makes you feel good. Because, like PE mentioned, it could maybe be a part of life that isn't too enjoyable, or that you put your self-care to the wayside because you're so overwhelmed with the current circumstances that are happening and it might be unfamiliar. And so really taking a moment to sit back and do some of the things that bring you joy, create habits that support you and your healthy lifestyle, and really just going into the next phase with an open mind and of course with all the support that we have here. And so before we close out, I want to pass it back over to Dominique and see if there's anything else that you'd like to share today.
Yeah, just one, I wanted to acknowledge PE. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your story and your wisdom. And I will never forget that story that you shared about Dave. And I'll definitely be mindful to mention that to people, as we share this blessing, right? This community and this nutrition. And I think that that's the biggest part that we want to remember when we think about what we have here, this gift. And I love that you mentioned the Purium economy, because we are about supporting ourselves physically, emotionally, and financially. And definitely, when we're thinking about menopause and the shift in our life as women, but just, having the community, having support, having a platform where you can use your voice and share your power, share your story, especially, during such a major transition in your life. And I'm grateful that you found this early on and that you've been able to spend, this last decade sharing this food. And I know that you've been able to impact so many people. But we wanted to remind you too, everyone that's on here, that we do have this incredible community, this incredible economy that is really changing people's lives, definitely physically, emotionally, but especially financially. And we have to pay, that blessing forward to more people. I'm CP, you have your hand raised, so I'll go ahead and let you share really quick, and then we'll wrap up, because I know we do have a Spanish call that's going to be starting in a few minutes.
Okay, because I mentioned Dave, I want to make sure that we all understand what this another component of this business offers us is personal development. And that's the same that goes with Amy and Dave. And I've known them both for 12 years now. And Dave is not the same person he was when he said that to me. I'm sure he would deliver it now with a lot more of who you see Dave today, so much grace and so much love. So I want to make sure and clarify that that was a person that was on his own personal journey. That's how he responded. Today, he's a much different, gracious man. And I love that I've watched both Dave and Amy grow so much in this, with this beautiful supportive community. So thank you again for having me.
Yes, no, thank you. Thank you for being here. But the message was needed for sure for all of us. And I love that you got it at that time too. Wonderful. Well, I know that there are a lot of you who are joining us for the first time tonight. So I wanted to, let me stop sharing. Make sure I have the right screen up. Wanted to just welcome you to our call. Hope you got a lot of value from our share tonight and PE share. I want to be able to show you how you can stay connected with us and also how you can join our community. So one, you want to definitely get back to the person who invited you to this call. They'll be able to plug you into their community and be able to show you how you can stay connected to what we have and also get started on your own transformation journey. But you can also take a screenshot of this slide here. If you can see, this is our schedule for the rest of December. We only have 3 weeks this month because of the holidays. So you can stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, and this call will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel, The Million Mom Movement. So you can share this replay with, as many people that to get the knowledge that was shared tonight. And then you can come back and join us next week. I'll be sharing about our business opportunity, like PE shared, the Purium economy, and how it relates to this season of receiving when it comes to the holiday season, how you can not only use this blessing to, pay it forward to other people and create more income, but you can also nourish yourself and, the community that surrounds you. So you can take a screenshot of this slide and also register at the little QR code at the bottom to be able to join us next week. And we just thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have a Spanish Zoom that's going to be starting in a few minutes. So please join, I believe, Lucy for that. I'm not sure. But thank you all so much for joining us. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.